since we'd got a disinterested random sample of people in the room, I wanted to kind of do a quick straw poll as to how, what the mood was in the room, okay? So the first one is, hands up who thinks that London 2012 was a successful edition of the Olympic and Paralympic Games. Right, it's not in the majority. Julian will be pleased. Hands up who thinks that London 2012 was staged in the right part of London. A little bit more enthusiasm. And hands up who thinks that on aggregate the legacy is working well. Very few hands. Okay, so we got the mood here. That's good to know. Okay. Back in December, we had a one-day conference much like this and filled the hall. And it was about debating the London 2012 legacy. It was more of an occasion to actually give our funders, the Economic and Social Research Council, who had been funding us for 6 years, a kind of an occasion where they could feel good, and to have the IOC who would receive our reports and let them feel, the kind of the glow that they'd done something quite good. So it wasn't about biting the hands that feed or embarrassing people or point scoring. This was about having a genuine look at what we had been commissioned to do over the period in order to come up with some answers about legacy. Now, the media took some interest, okay? And the problem with the media is that they're going to make up their own story anyway. Okay, you don't write the words that presenter is going to use. Having spent 20 minutes in front of camera, they're going to pick out the 60 seconds that they think is going to really make their story. And so you have really no control over anything at all. Now, we happen to hit the main story on the London BBC News that night, and I'm going to play it for you, okay? And if I start to hide under the table, you'll realise why.
Good evening from BBC London News. I'm Alice Bandikrabi. The legacy of the 2012 Olympic Games has exceeded all expectations.
Her words.
Commissioned by the International Olympic Committee. Dozens of indicators were used to assess the impact of the London Games, although as Sarah Harris reports, some East Londoners are not convinced.
The physical legacy of the 2012 Games can be seen for miles across the East London skyline. But the International Olympic Committee asked for a more rigorous scientific analysis of the impact. Today, this report was published at the University of East London.
We've had to look at 67 indicators over the period 2003 to 2015. What we have now in East London is a 21st century neighbourhood developing with new housing for East London, park facilities, sports facilities, opportunities for business and employment.
But on the streets of Stratford, not everyone's convinced. Crime and poverty levels may have gone down, but some are still campaigning for better local services and are bitter that for them the Games did not deliver.
The thing about the Olympics, it was always about elite sport. It was never about ordinary people participating in sport. They kind of pretended it was and things like that. I mean, it just goes right way across the board. People in East London got nothing out of the Olympics.
Almost defined us, but yet still the people down at the bottom are suffering a lot. Local people actually being forced away, so local people were not even local people anymore. They were in Birmingham, Manchester, Hastings. We've got loads of new people in there, and the people that have been here for a long time have been forced away. So.
But as far as the Olympic Committee's assessment goes, the 2012 Games will be a difficult one to beat and will leave a legacy in East London to be enjoyed for generations to come. Sarah Harris, BBC London News.
Our study was born of the IOC's desire to develop kind of objective scientific analysis of the impact of each edition of the Games. had to be carried out by an independent researcher funded by the ESRC, and there was a technical manual that we had to follow, a manual which was confidential and you couldn't see until you signed the contract, and then you were given the manual and you said, that's what you're going to do. Okay, so brilliant. And Julian's now got a copy, so he can have fun reading it. Okay. There was a baseline report done by the ESRC back in 2008, and then we did a series of other reports, pre-games, games time, post-games, and all of the reports, the data, everything is freely available online. Anybody can go and collect it. If you can't find it at our website because the IT people are changing it yet again, and there's lots of downlinks and stuff, you can find it at the IOC website, okay? You just go there, Google it, and you'll find absolutely everything. Go help yourself and revel in it. 67 indicators, 15 environmental, 27 social culture, 25 economic, and they're all as a time series from 2003 to 2015. And many of the indicators are themselves baskets of indicators. So one indicator is health, and within that is all sorts of stuff about life expectancy and how often people go to hospital and what proportion get cancers and all that kind of stuff, and whether any of it's changing or not over time, 2003 to 2015. And we are fortunate in this country that we have open data, data that is available online, and we can see from the graph here that since about 2007, the amount of data that is available online, official government statistics, has rocketed. So it's running at about 3,500 data sets a year. That's just what is published centrally by the Office of National Statistics, and then all the other government departments and local authorities and everybody else are shoving out their own data. But be warned, it's all just spreadsheets, okay? Endless spreadsheets, and you need to work it out yourself. Okay, so what is legacy? And I've said here that the legacy is any net impact arising from a mega event, and we termed it in terms of mega events rather than just the Olympics. So it could be something like the World Cup, it could be Formula One, Riders' Cup, or whatever, could be a mega event. So it's the impact refers to any change or transformation for better or for worse that's taken place, which can be attributable to the event, okay? And therefore, if we're looking for the net effect over what would have happened, you need to have a counterfactual. You need to know what would have happened had the Olympics not come. And the previous speaker tried to give us a good insight to the fact that everything would have happened anyway, which I'm not arguing with. But we have to understand that, you know, these mega events are not context-free. There is no tabula rasa. It's superimposed on existing trajectories of historical development. And establishing a plausible counterfactual has not been done. The Treasury's official stance is that had the Olympic Games not been won, nothing would have happened to this area. Nothing at all, okay? So Stratford City wouldn't have happened, okay? They would have sat on the land agglomeration, which would have already happened, and done nothing with it. Westfield would have suddenly reduced itself to its own foundations and disappeared, okay? So in that sense, the government has been able to spin a story that says any bit of legacy, any gross bit of legacy, any change is actually a net impact and be counted as legacy, which is not true. Okay. There were the legacy promises, the 6 legacy promises, and they were just objectives and are not a counterfactual. And since there was no established counterfactual and it wasn't our job to create one, we could just only look at how the promises had or had not been met through the lens of these 67 indicators. And we have to look at the idea that things were happening anyway. So this is the great crime decline. Since 1997, according to the Crime Survey of England and Wales, crime has substantially declined, although it has flattened out in the last number of years. And this is crimes to households and suffered by households and individuals. And many would argue, and there have been great debates in criminology fraternity, about whether there really has been a great crime decline or it's just shifted into more technology types of crimes which aren't really grasped by this particular survey. We've already had mention of house prices. So this is what I did last night. I just very quickly went to Rightmove. And it shows, you know, in the Stratford area that we're looking at, you know, a leasehold flat in 2003 was 188,000. Now it's 390. Okay. And a terraced freehold was 225. It's now 663. Okay. So house prices have risen very substantially. Is this an Olympic effect? Is it the fault of the Olympics? Okay. Well, if we go to London as a whole, and these are situated at roughly the same radius that the Olympic Park is from the centre of London, we see exactly the same picture. Now, we've got mixed messages here. Planners would believe that if land and house prices are going up, it's a success because there's demand to be here. Okay? People are competing in terms of price in order to be here. But on the other hand, it means that rental's going to go up, and we've already heard about the rampant buy-to-let market, and local people who need affordable rents are substantially losing out here. But how much of that is due to the Olympics? Or how much of that would have happened anyway, is, you know, part of the debate. I got sucked into the House of Lords, not that I was ennobled, but I was taken on as a specialist advisor by the House of Lords in taking the evidence for and producing this report, Keeping the Flame Alive, the Olympic and Paralympic Legacy. And it went on for about a year, and they took written evidence. They had people sit there in committee in front of the cameras and ask them awkward questions. The role of a specialist advisor is to help them decide who needs to be questioned. Okay, so that was fun. We managed to get Boris Johnson in. And you have to help them write the questions. And it's not just a case of saying, well, this is a really awkward question, try this one. No, you have to write at least half a page of justification as to why this question is being asked and what you're trying to get from the individual. So the Lords are all prepped with their questions and why they're being asked. And actually the people on the receiving end have already received the questions, but weren't given why the question's being asked. Okay? So it's kind of a little bit of a game of everybody knows what's going on. It's politics after all. And the role of the specialist advisor is that during the actual committee sessions, you have to sit there next to the chairman and keep absolutely silent. You are not allowed to be in Hansard. Okay? You don't exist in the transcripts. But any time you think somebody is telling a bit of a porky or being evasive, you have to scribble a note and pass it around to say, hey, ask the mayor of Newham, why is there so much theft in Westfield? Okay, when he's saying crime has gone down, all right, stuff like that. So it was quite interesting, and you have to be in the front of a camera for 2 hours, live broadcast, so you can't scratch and you can't fall asleep, and so, you know, you've got to look active. It's a real pain, okay. Now, interestingly enough, there are a number of House of Lords debates, and these are the ones I tracked down. The first one that really looked at the Olympics in East London was in November 2008, and the latest one was 5th of November 2015. Okay, so I thought it'd be interesting to analyse what are the differences between the first debate and the last debate. So I went, and you can get all these, they're downloadable online. And the 2008 one had 21,000 words in it, and the 2015 one had 15,000 words in it. And you can boil it all down to a CSV file where you've got a source and a whole bunch of text, and do some text mining on it. So this is the word cloud for the 2008 debate. Okay, and we can see the word legacy and games are large there. If I haven't properly studied it through, it's because I did it at midnight last night. Okay, and we got people and communities, and here's East. And the size of the words are to do with how often they crop up. And if you've got really big words, they edge out some of the smaller ones. But finding, here's tourism, quite small. And there's sustainable. I'm trying to find the word employment, can't quite get it. There's entrepreneur and opportunities. Very small amount of vision here, okay? So this was 2008, and if we go fast forward to 2015, we got some really big words that are coming up all the time. Look, regeneration. There's regeneration in 2008. Okay, so we got regeneration, legacy again, and games. Maybe I should have said exclude the word legacy and games in order to give others a chance. Local's coming in much larger than it was in 2008. We've got housing. Yeah, and communities, and people. Okay, there were people there, it's larger. But we can analyze this in terms of similarities and differences. So this is the commonalities. They're all talking about games and legacy, of course, and people and local and East, because, well, it's East London, all right, and the government and regeneration. But we can also look at the differences. Even though they've got the same words in there, they're cropping up different numbers of times, and this produces a difference word cloud, where the kind of vaguely bluish colour, I don't know how it's come up there, it's 2015, and the greenish words are more popular in 2008. So regeneration has come very much to the fore in terms of the debate. East is much more of a focus than it was in 2008. Housing is much more important, but what seems to have gone into decline since 2008 is the notion of sustainable, Julian, this will warm your heart, communities, health, tourism, sports. These are things that are far less the focus of the debate now than it was then. Okay, so debating legacy will go on and on and on, and no doubt it will diminish in time until really this area, this development that's taking place, regardless of whether you like it or not, will create a district of London, yes, that is no further from the centre of London than South Kensington. And you have to remember that Kensington was the site of the a great exhibition and the original Crystal Palace. And then we had educational opportunities moving in there, like Imperial College, and cultural opportunities like the museums, yes? And we can see the same pattern here, okay? And until it becomes an indistinguishable district of London, and at that point, the debate, I think, will just kind of fritter away and stop. Okay, thank you.